check, 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 chop it down, check, 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 chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down.
I just appreciate everybody
Damn, set,
man.
Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dakota, where the hell are you going? Let me get my music going, man. What's going on? Good morning to all the morning trappers out there, man. Let me get my music going right set, bro. Dakota, you can't be popping up like that, man. Hey, but good morning, everybody. All right, here we go. Here we go. How everybody feeling this morning, man? This Monday morning, bro. Before we get into all the messiness. You know what's funny? I don't even know where we want to start today. Because right before I got on, there's this tweet. Hey, bro. Like, I promise. I don't like the. I agree. So if you all checked out the podcast with me and AJ yesterday, I 100% agree with what AJ was saying. Let me double check my audio straight. Okay, I agree 100% with what AJ was saying when we started. When we started the show. Is that? Why is my All right, we're gonna take this off. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. All right. I agree with what AJ was saying when he said, like, he hates talking about the quarterback position with this team, right? Because, like, you're talking about a quarterback in Taylor Heineke who isn't that good, and you're talking about Carson Wentz, who isn't that good either. And before I got on, what's going on, Jarian? Yes, rose colored. Hey, bruh. So Jarian knows where I'm about to go with this conversation. What's going on with you, Alex? Bruh, you know exactly where I'm going. I have to put this. I have to talk about it. I had no intention of like starting the show off this way, but like, when people think that we're making things up, and if you want to believe or don't understand why AJ can be so frustrated at times with people in the fan base, I'm gonna just show you some conversation right now, bruh, that I could not believe on my side, bruh, and I'm gonna leave it at that, bruh. It's to the point where I don't even think I can follow these people anymore. But I got it. We gotta talk about it. Where is it at? Okay. Oh, I gotta zoom in. It's ugly. All right, let's see if that works. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's get some context, man. Let's bring some quality conversation to this show. The whole we don't even have to scroll up that far. The whole conversation is about Taylor Heineke right now, and I cannot believe that we saw everything that we saw yesterday. Despite if he had a good game, a great game, a mediocre game, a bad game, however you want to categorize it, I don't think anybody in their right mind would categorize the type of game that Taylor Heineke had as his best game of the season. Heineke just played his best game of the season. Heineke just played his best game of the season. This guy said. It's only one response I got for him. It's only one response that I got for him, man. Like, you cannot be serious right now, man. I don't even like I said, I didn't even plan on like starting off the show with the quarterback position. I didn't even know where I was going to start off with, man. I really just wanted to chop it up with everybody. But like, this just happened, as you see, 5 minutes ago. Like, this just happened, 6:59 a.m. So let's just start there, okay? Let's just start here. And I'm gonna leave this up for the whole conversation.
Hey, run that shit up, Chase.
Appreciate everybody checking in. What's going on with you, Yak? I have no personal problems with Taylor Heineke. I have no personal problems with Carson Wentz. I think that this whole conversation, and mind you, for context purposes, this conversation that I'm showing you right now is stemming from the fact that I said that Washington has a quarterback conundrum. So everybody is fighting for Taylor Heineke in this thread, or like two main people are fighting for Taylor Heineke in this thread. And my thing is, let me start out with Heineke first, because he's the starter right now. There are obvious positives behind his game. Like the fact that he can perform in the clutch and perform like he has an ice heart. Like he is cold. He doesn't feel anything in pressure moments. And that's okay. That's really good for your team. Like knowing that you're always in it with him is a positive, right? When he's locked in, he is locked in. Like his best moment of the season came against Indianapolis. If you want to qualify this game that he had as his best game of the season, where they scored 13 points leading into that last drive for their offense, or what would have been or what could have been their last drive on the offensive side of the football, then what are we talking about? But back to the positives. Again, when he's on fire, when he's in rhythm and he understands like where to go with the football. I know that's kind of like baseline. Like, of course, you're supposed to know where to go with the football, right? Of course, that's a conversation. But at the same time, you're looking at a person who can he has the elusive ability to evade in the pocket. He's not like this year. He's not a scrambler, in a sense, right? Like he's not creating plays in terms of rushing the football downfield. He is maneuvering in the pocket well. He does have a good feel for pressure. He can evade, and that's all good, right? Like if you can keep a play alive, i.e., that fourth down play that he did several times this year, just generally speaking, from extending a play, that's really good. And you could use a quarterback. Your offense can use a quarterback like that, and your receivers would love to have those opportunities when a play breaks down. And Curtis Samuel thrives off the scramble drill. Like he is a guy that you can trust in that situation, and he continues to come through. So Heineke does good. He understands the offense. He knows where he could go with the football. Doesn't always do it, right? Sometimes that man blacks out and throws the effort ball. No, Alex, I didn't cuss for you. You know what I'm saying? He threw the effort ball. He throws the effort ball all the time. Matter of fact, what happened when Washington got the ball back after the Giants went 3-and-out, tied 20-20? Terry McLaurin saved him. He threw two would be or should have been interceptions on that drive that just didn't happen. One, a Giant defender dropped. Two, Terry McLaurin mossed Fabian Moreau. So those are moments where you're just sitting here saying, yes, he knows your offense, but then he'll have moments like that where you're like, bro, who are you throwing to? So the positives, like, again, those are, you can't take those away, but those are limited positives. The negatives, first off, the negatives is that you're not producing anything in the sense of it's so comparable to what you were getting when Wentz was at quarterback. It's just looking different. It looks different. Keep it classy. Yeah, I got you, dog. I got you. Yes, Taylor had a quarterback. It's not a good number. You can't dance around that. Especially if people like Adam and Travis wants to use stats, then why aren't we using 27.8 quarterback rating? Where were you at? He performs in pressure moments. He puts himself in. Like it's crazy. So I just think like there's some good that comes out of Heineke playing, but you got to understand that does the good outweigh the bad? And you also have to understand, if this isn't a person, when you look at the cons of both Carson Wentz, and we talked about this yesterday, so I don't want to talk about it too much. We just had to start off the show with this because we got this at 6:59 a.m. All right, we're gonna move on, but we can't not talk about this ridiculous statement that Heineke just played his best game of the season. And if he did play his best game of the season, and if you agree with Adam, that's perfectly fine, right? You can agree with Adam, but if this is his best game of the season, I don't know how you can even put a dead or dead the conversation that there should be a discussion to have Carson Wentz back in the lineup if you think that this is his best game of the season. I'm just saying. But like if you gotta look at the cons on both Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke to this point. He's going to put you in situations that that Jarian mentioned. He's going to put himself in this offensive positions to have to come back, right? It's not always on him. I think that drive where the two 10 plus play drives in the second half were deaded because of penalties and sacks allowed, and those penalties weren't on Taylor Heineke. Those were on Logan Thomas. Those were on your offensive line. So that's not on Taylor. And those drives could have been continued, but I mean, you never know how it goes. There was one that they were in Giants territory and it ultimately ends up missing the field goal. But at the end of the day, you can give them credit for that. Like there was some moments where they were able to sustain some drives to an extent. But when you talk about missed opportunities from a throwing standpoint, he's overthrowing players. He's not even attempting some throws. If you watch the tape, we watch the tape here. Y'all are here sometimes on Wednesdays. Y'all see it. He misses some throws too. So I just think that if you don't allow yourself to look at the cons of Taylor Heineke and compare the cons from Taylor Heineke to Carson Wentz and see what you can roll with in the structure of the offense that you have now, not the one that you had earlier in the season, then you are doing yourself a disservice. Like Adam is. He's saying that people have amnesia if they don't look back at the first first 6 games of the season. Why was Washington 2-4? It wasn't off the backs of Carson. This offense was inept. The same reason why the offense is inept today. Except they weren't running the football that time. They just couldn't pass well. So if you give Washington an opportunity to run the football with a different quarterback, now the offensive line may be an issue now too, because Tyler Larson, there's no word on what the significance of his injury is. So Larson may still be good to go in a couple weeks, or maybe just miss some time and can come back before the season is over. But I just think that when you talk about the run game, your playmakers, they're there. That offensive line is going to be a little bit more in flux now too, but the bye week may help. And they may be able to find out a solution moving forward in terms of having this week off to kind of put together the best unit for whoever's going to be back there at quarterback. But I just think that you cannot look at it's two things. You cannot look at the record of either quarterback and say this is the reason why they should stay in the game, or why they shouldn't be in the game. You can't look at the records and say that. You have to evaluate how that offense was playing and how that team was playing. Washington went down 27-0 against the Detroit Lions before what's the name came back, before the Commanders came back or tried to get back into the game. Like that's inexplicably bad. And that's a byproduct of the defense being poor in the first couple games of the season, right? And your offense not being able to produce points in that first half. Mainly Scott Turner. If y'all remember, we talked about it. Again, If you can't account for the blitz, or if you're not adjusting well to the blitz and helping your offense out, then you're a problem. So again, if you don't look at the pros and cons, and that's my main point, I've harped on it like 3 or 4 times. That's the last time I'll say it, and we can move on. But if you don't harp on the pros and cons, and evaluate the cons and see what you can live with in this new offense, this updated offense from week 6, Adam, then you are doing yourself a disservice, man. Everybody's doing themselves a disservice, man. So let's go ahead and continue on with the show. I'll catch up on some of the comments now. We can end this one and stop sharing. All right. Where we at? Real KV, appreciate you checking in, my man. Thank you for the good words, my brother. I think that, so this is a good talk. Let me come back to this. Let me come back to that. What's going on with you, Hulk? He must be looking at the stats. I didn't even show. Yes, he is. He's looking at the stats. And so is the other guy, Travis, who put stats in there saying that he played a hell of a game. So yes, Hawks, they are looking at stats. Nah, they smoking dope. That's what they doing. It's not a recipe for winning. What's going on with you, David? Good morning. Yes, it's not a recipe for winning. And guess who else was throwing 40 plus times a game? The other quarterback. And he threw 40 plus times a game like 4 or 5 times out of 6 games. It is not a recipe for winning, especially with this offense. Like, people cannot be serious with their analysis. And yes, David, 100% right. 100% right. What's going on, 757? Appreciate you checking in. That is a positive. Yes, he had to change the offensive line every single week. And that's all I'm saying. And I want everybody that's in here to understand, and people who will be checking in later off the replay, just understand. I don't even think anybody in the chat is saying they should go with. Matter of fact, I do know my man Jay Tyler. I don't know if he's in here right now, but he definitely is all for the switch. And I'm gonna ask everybody now. I think that's the right time to ask everybody. I don't know if you all are for the switch or not, but let me know. Do you want Taylor or do you want Carson? Matter of fact, let's make it a 2-part question. Do you want Taylor or Carson? Do you think they'll go with Taylor or Carson? 2-parter. Let me know why. And while we wait on that, let's go ahead and talk about what KV said from the UK, my man. So let me take a sip first. Okay. So here's my thing. Washington had chances to win. They had several chances to win, but so did the New York Giants. And to be honest with you, the New York Giants, let me inverse that. Both teams had chances to win. And to be honest, the Commanders got blessed in some big moments that directly implicated better odds for the Giants to win. And that's very vague, so I'll specifically talk about what I mean by this. In the last, this is 1 second, or it's two series actually. I'm gonna go from the last one to the earlier one. So the last one is in overtime. Why is nobody talking about F.A. Obata jumping off sides or lining up off sides or in the neutral zone on the spike after the Richie James catch? Nobody on Washington's side is talking about that. Like, we're gonna talk about penalties, right? And KV, matter of fact, I'm gonna keep this up for a second. But if we're gonna talk about penalties, we can't be one-sided. Let me show you all what I'm talking about. So I think we all know, but I'm gonna remind everybody, at least on this show, how Washington got blessed several times yesterday, and how that, like, it evened out in terms of should have won, et cetera, type of thing. All right. So Richie James makes the catch. right? And they line up. They're trying to line up. You saw it right there. That man is lined up off sides. It was a 58-yard field goal attempt. And the refs didn't call it. It was a 58-yard field goal attempt that would have knocked it down to 53. And the kicker was just short. That's the first part. The second thing is delay a game. They're right. This is after he fell down. He's clearly down by contact. He's clearly down by contact. So what is Jamin Davis doing? What is he doing? They didn't even call that. So when we say Washington should have won, I agree. Washington had some moments to win. But truly, if you think about everything from both sides of the coin, this was a game where I looked at overtime, and I said this on the podcast yesterday. I look at overtime and I'm like, hey, at this point, I will take the tie. Like, this is one where it's like, oh, thank God. Washington played not to lose and still almost lost. They played not to lose and still almost lost. I don't agree with the fact that Washington on 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10 said that they would rather, where is it at? On 3rd and 10, they would rather hand the ball off to Antonio Gibson at their 10-yard line, right? And punt the ball back to New York with a minute left to go in the game. So you're not, I mean, what's the obvious answer, right? I think we know the obvious answer in that they don't trust Taylor Heineke. Because if you trusted your quarterback in the slightest, just a smidge, you are putting the ball in his hand to try and make a play. What are we doing? Why are we playing for a tie? But that's another thing too that I think we need to discuss. And I think we can start there. I know I got distracted for a second because I was, let me go ahead and finish the other opportunity for for the New York Giants so we can kind of put this thing into perspective. So that was the one play. And then earlier in regulation, remember Washington was down, they were still down 20-13. And let me see if this was the one. Give me 2 seconds. Penalty, holding. No, not that one. Touchdown. I'm trying to find the drive. I think it was the 4-play. Oh, yep. Okay. So remember, in the game, Washington was down 20-13. And there was a taunting penalty on the Giants offensive lineman. That taunting penalty came after a 12-yard reception from Darius Slayton. So from the 47 to the 35-yard line of Washington, that puts the Giants in field goal range to possibly put this game up 23-13. And a taunting penalty knocked them back. So when we talk about this part, this was the last one. In terms of should have won that game for Washington, like there was several missed opportunities and mistakes on the Giants side as well that kept Washington in this game, i.e. the Darius Slayton drop at the very end, the last drive where they went 3 plays, 0 yards. Darius Slayton dropped a deep pass that puts them in scoring range automatically. A coverage bust. So I just think that Washington, if you look at this tie and you're saying that you should be mad, if you look at this tie and say that you're upset that Washington wasn't able to finish this, I'd agree with you. Close out games, I'd agree with you. But if you also sit here and say that Washington got blessed that they didn't lose this game, I'd say I'd agree with you there, and I would agree with you there more than anything. So this is the one tie where you're like, okay, I take it, but we cannot lose when we come out of the bye week. You can't afford to lose that game. Can't afford to lose it. Okay. Jarian said that I'm over the Taylor Heineke experience. I think we are at once again. I want to see how. I don't think it'd be any worse. Yep, I hate the BS refs fault blah. Not to mention he tried to delay him getting up. You're right, just a lot of missed opportunities by the offense. Refs were trash yesterday. Neither team's benefited from calls. I think that's the fairest way. Like, I just think that it was a situation where neither team was able to benefit from the officiating, like in a way that was fair. Like, I think the fairest thing, and ironically, is the fact that the officiating was inconsistent because it evened out. It ultimately evened out. What's going on with you, Slim? Good morning. Good morning, all some morning trappers. Let's get that administrative item out of the way. My bad. If you are just checking in, man, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are new. Definitely appreciate it. We are just chopping it up about, obviously yesterday's game. In the context of missed opportunities for both sides. And truthfully, I agree. Back to what Dave said, the refs are not a conversation for me. Like, if you want to harp on the refs, like, do your dirty work. Go ahead. Like, if you want to do it, I'm not gonna knock you. But it evened out. Like, that's how bad it was. And you can't really complain about the missed opportunities directly from the refs when the Giants was a recipient of missed calls as well. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Moving on from the ref side, there was a conversation that I wanted to talk about with Ron Rivera, and how they settled right for the tie. Like, they didn't want to trust Taylor Heineke at the end, or give him a chance to put the game in his hands. And for all it's worth, like, it's kind of weird how he had to go down on an 8-play 90-yard drive to tie the game up, but you won't give him that same chance with a minute to go in the game, like a minute to go in overtime. Like, it's win or lose, or draw at that point. And he chose, he didn't choose a win, and he put the loss in the hands of the defense. And he said, I'd rather go for a tie. If we can go for a tie, that's the best case scenario. I don't like that mentality. And the reason why this is such a big deal is because of understanding how this team will likely play moving forward. Ron Rivera would rather preserve the record than try to get the dub. Like, this has always been something that stood out, whether it's in 2-minute situations where he wouldn't call timeouts, or he'll let the clock run down to the very last second to keep an offense from getting on the field, or he would rather allow the defense to try and stop the opposing team from scoring a touchdown, but he'll live with a field goal. Like these are conservative approaches in critical situations, and I just think that that'll ultimately hurt this team. I don't know if it's a quarterback thing, and maybe it is, but he's not doing it just like, you got to remember, like, at one point he was doing it with Carson Wentz too. So it don't matter who's going to be at quarterback. So I want to preface that. I should have prefaced it by saying, what is this going on? Who in the world is that? Okay. I just want to preface it by saying it doesn't matter who is at quarterback, right? I just think that this is a conservative coach, living with conservative decisions, and I don't know, like, it don't even matter who else is out there. Like, I think that he can have Cam Newton back in Carolina. He probably did this as well. I don't like it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't like it. Where we at? Oh, one more. Oh, we got one more to go. Okay, Hawk. Hold on. Let me check it. Let me check it out right quick. Let me see. Do we really got one? I think we're gonna get it. I think we're gonna get it on this string. I think we're gonna get it on this string. Oh, we got it. Yeah, we got that motherfucker. We got that thing right quick. Yo. We got that 1K. We got the 1K. We got the 1K, baby. Hey, we got the 1K. We got the left hand up. Yes, sir. We got the 1K right now. I love to see it. I love to see it. We got the 1K. We got the 1K. Yes, sir. I should go down and get that bottle of Remy. We got the 1K. Yep. Yes, sir. We got that thing, man. Damn. Yes, we got that thing. And hey, if you all are checking in on Twitter too, my bad, because I never even addressed it. But if you are watching, that's cool. If you want to be a part of the show, try to migrate over to the YouTube side, man, and hit that subscribe button too, so we can continue to go up. But yeah, I appreciate everybody, bruh. I appreciate everybody that's gonna be tuning into the replay. Like I told you all from the beginning, I don't do like this 900. Like when we hit that 900 mark, we hit 900, I think, before the season started. And I didn't do like I wanted this thing to be organic. I wanted everybody to find out the same way that the people found out about the morning show. Like if you found me on YouTube in that morning segment or that morning space and found that live stream, I appreciate it. If you found your way through the Trapper Dive side, the podcast, whether it's just randomly being on YouTube and finding it, or maybe finding it on Twitter, I appreciate that. We always appreciate it, man. And I think that for all of the support that we had, I wanted to make sure that everybody who subscribed, because I didn't put out no subscribe thing. Like the only way you knew that I asked for subscriptions was when you joined the show. I wanted everybody who fucked with the show. Sorry, my bad, Alex. I wanted everybody who joined this show, man, to do it organically because you appreciate what we got going on, and you know that you're appreciated as well, man, for tuning in as many times as you do, and even giving 2 minutes of your time to the show, bro. That stuff is incredible. Like I appreciate it. And on top of that, I always had this planned. I wanted it to happen in the beginning of the season because I thought we were going to get there. But I am going to do a giveaway for 1K, man. Just give me some time now. This is the Christmas holiday, so allow me a couple more weeks to come back and do a giveaway. But it will be a giveaway regardless of where we're at in a couple weeks. But it's to celebrate, man. And I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Hawk always been around. Jerry and Davis checking in 757. Hey, he said pop that Remy. He said it's too early for Remy, bro. So what if I did this on a day that I ain't had to work? What if I was on vacation, bro? But yeah, man, we definitely gonna do a giveaway, bro. Just to show my appreciation on the other side, because y'all put in some watch hours as well, man. Y'all, some of y'all looked out in terms of just making sure that people are subscribed and like the show and make sure that they were active in the chat, man. And y'all made this show, as good as it is right now. So let's keep going up, and let's keep grinding, and let's see where we can take this thing. Right, it's only the beginning. So let's keep grinding, man. Let's keep talking some ball and making sure that this thing. Nah, I ain't on the clock, player. Let's keep talking some ball, man. Making sure this thing is recognized for the content that needs to be on the bigger screens. I don't know. Let's go ahead and get into it though. Yes, sir. Okay. I don't even know where we was at. I was over here looking. I forgot what I was looking for. Oh, I got distracted. All right, bet. So where were we at? All right, so we talked about the refs. Damn, I got distracted. We talked about the refs. I hate quarterback win stats. I agree. The offensive line was throwing me off. Okay. He said, in my estimation for the P word is that we can't afford to lose games anymore. That's true. All right, let's start here. Slim, I see you. we're gonna talk about that offensive line. Matter of fact, let's do that first. Because I think the P word is a larger conversation. But yeah, the offensive line. First, it doesn't help that I really liked Tyler Larsen. I don't know what his injury status is in terms of long term. We talked about that before or early in the show. I don't know like what his injury status is moving forward. I don't know if it's season ending or not. Didn't look good, but like he's a heavy person, and you're gonna bring out a cart for a heavy individual. So maybe like he was walking around on crutches, I think, in the locker room too. So just don't know yet. It may just be like a high. Oh, if it's a high, I don't know. It may just be an ankle sprain. I don't know anything. So we got to monitor that. I think that's the easiest way to say it. I like Tyler Larsen. Putting Nick Martin in the game is probably not going to work out too well, given how he performed earlier in the season with who? Guess who? At quarterback, Carson Wentz. Nick Martin ain't played too good. And then you have, I think Sam Cosmi had a little injury. So like you don't know what's going on just yet. And I know what you're talking about specifically, Slim, is the pressure allowed. So let's go ahead and talk about how they were giving up tons of pressure. Who was it? I think Antonio Gibson and Logan Thomas had a mishap in blocking as well that gave up a sack. I think John Bates allowed a sack too, if not like an immediate pressure. But at the end of the day, and Cornelius Lucas, I can't forget him. He annoys me in pass pro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it doesn't matter if he has a speed guy or a power guy on his side. He's acceptable to like those like somebody with a rush plan. If they have a solid rush plan, I don't see Cornelius Lucas really being in good position to defend that. But and that's me touching lightly. I could get into more details. But yeah, I just don't think too highly of Cornelius Lucas in pass pro. Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari, those two were able to really impact the game on the edges. Dexter Lawrence, I think we knew about Dexter Lawrence, right? Dexter Lawrence had moments where he dominated in the trenches, especially in the interior. Like that one sack he had where he split a double team or beat a double. It wasn't even a double team. Like the center, Nick Martin, I think at that time, if not Tyler Larsen, I may be wrong, gave no help to Sam Cosmi. And you're talking about, or limited help, and you're talking about a heavy physical 1-tech, 3-tech going up against Sam Cosmi at guard. He's new at guard, and you have him pass pro one-on-one against that man up until he splits the double or the perceived double. So like there was losses across the board. I think Wink Martindale put up a good scheme, a pressure scheme that really impacted the offensive line and impacted Taylor's ability to operate at times, because Taylor he definitely had opportunities to push the football down the field, but at times there was some really good pressure calls from Martindale, and then his defensive line just won. They were throwing me off, but I'm not surprised. Like this offensive line, we knew wasn't that good at all. Like you had individuals who played solid. I still think that Charles Leno is a good tackle. I think he's a top 10 tackle. I do. I don't think that he's top 5. I don't think he's top 7. I don't even think he's top 8. Maybe like 9 or 10. He's going up against quality talent throughout the year. So that offensive line is throwing you off because it ain't good, Slim. And I think you know that, and I think we all know that. Another thing, if your argument, and we have to talk about it, we have to swing it back to the quarterback, because that's what we do. But if your argument, part of your argument was about Taylor Heineke being mobile, right? Like, it doesn't matter how bad your offensive line is if you, like, how mobile you are. Like, unless you're Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick, who else? Maybe Pat Mahomes. Like, Pat Mahomes he has some elusiveness in the pocket, but really Lamar Jackson is the superb athlete. And that's where I'm getting at it. Like, if you're a superb athlete, there's not that many ways that you're going to be able to get out of those sacks that the Giants had. So when you think about Heineke's mobility, you got to take into account that offensive line is going to be bad sometimes. You got the Giants coming up again, and then you have the San Francisco 49ers coming up later. In between San Fran and New York is the Cleveland Browns. But San Fran is coming up, and they win at the line of scrimmage too. They dominate in the trenches for the most part. So it doesn't matter who's going to be back there if that offensive line is going to keep getting worked. Slim, I agree with you. Offensive line was throwing me off, but they've been bad all year. Jaren, I see you're commenting about the OC. We're going to scroll through some of these things right quick. No. Was this not scoring enough? More on Taylor or Scott and O-line this game. Yeah. I got you. All right, so let's go ahead and get back to the offensive line right quick, and get through these topics. Well, chat, what do you all think about this question though? And Slim, what do you think? Let me see if you answered. Okay. All right. So it's a decent question to ask. But I started this show by acknowledging, while I didn't like the second half offense because of the fact that you had those 2 10-plus play drives that amounted to 0 points, right? That's the first thing. But the second thing is I acknowledge that on those drives, they were solid for the most part up until the penalties. But I think that's also, like, you have to take that into the full picture with this offense. If you aren't sustaining drives, whether it's from execution, just from simple execution, play calling, not play calling, but performance, or if you are committing penalties, that is a bad unit. Like, you can't afford, especially if you're going to play like that, right? If you're going to have extended drives that eats up time of possession, you can't afford penalties. Like, the margin of error is so little, and we say that all the time. So, Slim, to your point, or excuse you, to your question, was us not scoring enough more on Taylor or Scott? Taylor or Scott in O-line this game. To your question, there was moments that they had an opportunity to score in that second half, and it was blown for the offensive line having your holding calls, right? Or Logan Thomas having it was an arguable penalty. I think we talked about the officiating. It was arguable, right? And then Taylor in the first half missing opportunities downfield. And matter of fact, even in the second half missing opportunities, like the crosser to Curtis Samuel that was open if he hit it towards the sideline. He thought that Curtis Samuel was going to cut it vertically and almost threw a pick. So there were several missed opportunities throughout this game. And I think the easier answer is to say it was an effort from all three parts. Scott Turner running screens on third down. I think that's a good point. Where is it at? I think that's a good point because at one point the pressure was really getting home to Taylor Heinicke in that offense. So I understood why the screens were being thrown. But I think it got to a point, David, where you're throwing these screens and it's predictable. Like he popped off one big screen. I don't remember what down it was, Dave, but they popped off one big screen, but they went back to it one too many times in situations where the Giants knew that the pressure was affecting the play and the timing and the amount of time that Taylor could have. So they were anticipating screens on several occasions, and they were right there to make a play on the ball. Like that 3rd and 9, I don't think I can really get over that. Or 3rd and 10, when they're in overtime and they're driving the ball down the field. Curtis Samuel popped off a 21-yard run to set Washington up in great field position in overtime. And you're thinking they may have a chance to steal this game from the Giants. They can win this game, and this is a walk-off. Like, we done. And in a third and long situation, you're just asking for like a couple yards, if not a first down, right? Because if you get a couple yards, you're going for it. You're in no man's land, so all you got to do is just go for it. Like, but you get nothing because you call that screen, right? So I think that the screen in itself was just a byproduct of the fact that there was a lot of pressure, and those edge rushers and that pass rush was just on go. So like a way to counter that pressure is to run those screens, but I just think that they ran it one too many times, and it ultimately affected them on a couple of occasions. What's going on, Dope? Oh, I read this wrong. I said goat. Should have said goat. What's going on with you, player? Good morning, man. Good morning to all the morning trappers that just checked in. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so, man. I appreciate y'all checking in. Taylor missed some throws, but I still feel like he gives us the best chance. He makes the offensive line look better than they are. I don't think Wentz could be successful with being able to evade sacks. My man, I don't disagree with you having an opinion, right? I don't have like, oh, matter of fact, I never even answered my own question. I said, so let's get back to that, right? Because we got distracted. Matter of fact, that's what it was. We got distracted with the 1K subscribers. I had asked, it was a two-parter. Who do you want Washington to roll with after the bye week? And who do you think Washington will roll with after the bye week? So I think that your analysis is probably, it's like it left some meat off the bone. So that's not a criticism more so than it is like we got to take the full picture in, right? So Taylor missed some throws, yes. Some of those misses should have been turnovers, and I think that's kind of the part where you're like, when people say he gives us the best chance to win, that's cool if you feel that way. That has no argument. But when you say miss some throws, that's the most important part of the conversation. Because what do those misses look like? Are those missed touchdowns? And could it have been turnovers? There were probably about 3 or 4 instances that could have been turnovers. And then there was one clear overthrow to Logan Thomas in the end zone in that first half. So like, what does those misses look like? But if you feel like he gives you the best chance to win, that's an argument that I'm not going to go. Like, that's your opinion. That's perfectly fine. But I will say, as we continue to move forward with this, the offensive line, yeah, sure. Still alive? Are we still alive? I don't know what just happened. Okay, I think we're still alive. I'm gonna assume that nothing happened. That was weird. I think StreamYard just dropped off for a second. Okay, so here we are. I just think that the offensive line, like, when you see what pressure looks like in a sense of like the amount of pressure that the Giants created against Heineke this week, that's when you say the offensive line is bad. Like, you can't escape that. You can't escape that type of pressure, especially interior pressure that they were able to provide. And then sometimes those blindside hits on Taylor Heineke, you can't avoid that. He was getting lit up yesterday. So if your argument is 5 sacks is better than possibly 9, okay. Heineke surprised me. not getting mobile, staying in the pocket makes it easier for the Giants defensive line. We only score on sustained drives. That's why I want Taylor to run a bit more when pass pro doesn't hold on certain plays. Scott Turner really blew me with the play calling, especially in overtime. We've gotten at least a field goal to try. Jimmy G is hurt, and you might have a chance against San Francisco, but don't forget though, because that roster is built to compete with most quarterbacks. And when I say most quarterbacks, I'm saying like whoever they have in their system, you can really have a chance to win with that defense and with the playmakers around them. You got a dog and Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel on the outside, Brandon Ayuk, who's a playmaker, and then obviously Kittle in the offensive line. So that's still gonna be a dogfight. And remember, Washington don't play like, they don't win convincingly. Like it's either gonna be a close game or a loss. It's gonna be a close game, close win or a loss. Okay. I saw some good things from Scott. Well enough to score 23 plus. I agree. Like that first half, he was dotting them up. AJ disagreed with me, but that first half, Scott Turner dialed it up. He put it in Taylor Heineke's hands to make plays, and Taylor didn't come through on one big moment, I would say. Leading to that field goal after the turnover. Taylor's offensive line failed yesterday. Giants offense protected well for Daniel Jones. We missed St. Juice. I agree about St. Juice. Heineke could have easily thrown the INTs, but I believe he's still the best option for us to make the offs. With the energy the teams play with, I'd rather walk with Taylor. I can't live without still deer in headlights. But okay, I get what you're saying. Like the possibility of Carson Wentz still being a deer in headlights. That's fair. I do think that it would, like, when you're talking about a person who had a benefit of knowing Scott Turner's offense from a person who didn't, and understanding how it's complex from that perspective. I think that the time off, like, people aren't considering the fact that the time off could have actually done him some good. Jaren, I don't know where I went. I was confused. That don't just kick me out. I agree. 6 or 7 seed, man. Okay. And, hey, 757, I'm not gonna lie to you. I realized that I never even answered. I just realized that I never really ever answered this question. I always answered this question from the perspective of Ron Rivera. Who do I think gives Washington the best chance to win? That's a tough question. I ain't gonna lie to you. I always put the pressure on y'all, but now you put the pressure on me. I think it's Taylor. I think it's Taylor. I think that, like, and I want to preface it by saying that both offenses, or both quarterbacks, excuse me, my bad. Both offenses under these quarterbacks weren't good. I think that if you're willing, here I go. I was about to hedge again. I think Taylor probably gives him the best chance to win, but I just don't think it's a huge separator. Like, I don't think it's by a wide mile. I think that Taylor ability to maneuver in the pocket and keep drives alive can help out the offense. I want to also preface this conversation by saying I don't think Taylor Heineke has the arm strength to make certain throws. And I think the reason why that's still a conversation is because it shows itself on tape. I think there's some throws that he'll look off and not throw. My bad. He'll either look off and not throw, or he'll attempt to throw, and it's a terrible ball. But I think he gives you the best chance because he knows the offense, and he can get you in a good situation. I'm not confident. The only reason why I say he gives you the best chance to win is because I'm not confident that Carson Wentz has been able to fully turn things around. I don't think that, and I may be wrong, But I'm just not fully confident that Carson Wentz has like immersed himself in the offense to the point where he can come back playing to the level of Heineke or better. I'm not confident in that. And I think because I don't think he's able to do that, it'll impact how he processes after the snap, right? Where to go with the football, his feel in the pocket, like knowing how much time he'll have. I'm not even worried about who touches the football. I'm worried about where what Carson Wentz is seeing and what he's feeling. Because there was a conversation like Terry doesn't get the ball with Carson. Like that's an issue, right? I'm not going to downplay it, but like my main argument isn't who gets the football and who doesn't. Because if that was my argument, I would be mad and very frustrated that Jahan Dotson wasn't getting the football up until today. 9 targets, or this week. 9 targets against the Giants, 5 receptions. He had 4 targets in 3 games since he came back from injury. That's a huge issue. And there was a game last week where Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson didn't get a target. And I'm not counting that 1 target that was an interception. Like, Taylor had no business throwing that. So Jahan had 0 targets last week. So yeah, man, I do think that Taylor gives Washington the best chance to win, but I don't think it's a wide margin. The only reason why I say Taylor is because I don't fully trust Carson Wentz in terms of his ability to have like fully picked up the offense. And if I'm wrong, I think if I'm wrong in the sense of like they put him on the field and he's actually shown improvement in terms of knowing where to go with the football and knowing how to process the field, then I think Carson Wentz, right, will significantly increase the production of this offense. People talk about points per game for Washington, right? I talk about it all the time. You are not scoring, like they don't score over 20 points with either quarterback. And at one point they were averaging 11 points per game since like week 3. So I think there's a lot to discuss and a lot to evaluate. I personally, again, Taylor, but if Carson showed that he's able to pick up the playbook, I think that'll be by far the best or the most significant part of this evaluation. And I think that'll be better for the offense if you can trust a guy in Carson who's able to pick up the offense. Okay. Where we at? Yep, defense is good. I wrote that comment about San Fran, looked at their roster and noticed. He said, what up, man? Hawk changed his mind up quick. Goddamn. We need an enthusiastic Carson. Oh, there's another thing too. I'm sorry. I brought this up yesterday on the show as well, and I stick with it. I want people to understand, like, when you talk about that locker room, like, people say that, you know, the players fight for Taylor. And I think that's true. I don't want to take that away from them. But I don't think saying the locker room fights for Taylor should be a knock on Carson. I don't think that should be the case. They're two different types of personalities, but it doesn't mean that players won't adapt to Carson. Like, it's not going to be a mood change in a depressing way if Taylor isn't on the field. Do y'all forget? Like, we can't forget that Jonathan Allen was asked, how do they keep winning with Taylor at quarterback? And he says, I don't know. Like, that's real. So I just want people to understand, like, that locker room thing in terms of, like, he has the locker room or teammates have his back. I think that's true, and I think that's accurate, but I don't think that means they don't have Carson Wentz's back or that they won't fight for Carson. I don't think that's true at all. So that's kind of where I'm at. Do you think Jamin has leveled off after a few good weeks, or do you think he's trending up overall? Yeah, I think he's still playing good ball. I still think he's playing good ball. With Scott calling games for Carson and wait. Hell Yes. And that's my main thing when people are against Carson. Like when they're fully against Carson, you got to understand that they were running two different offenses. Now, the question is, do you, Scott, so to your question in particular, yes. Would Scott calling games for Carson the way he does for Taylor help? But the real question is, do you trust Scott to call the games like he does for Taylor? But I think that he should continue to do it that way. I think that it should be a balanced approach, and it should be one where Washington is generally having more rushes than they are passes. That's really what it comes down to. It raises the offensive ceiling, especially if he's able to uptick. And that's another thing too. If you're running the same offense, especially if you're handing the ball off as many times as they were with Taylor, that also goes into the argument for Carson. Because you're not forcing Carson to win you the game. Same way that you aren't allowing Taylor to really win you a game. Like Taylor is left with no choice at times because they ain't put up no points, so they gotta make some plays at the end. They would rather put the game on their running backs in the run game, but sometimes they can't. Yeah. Where are we at? I think we covered. There's another thing too. Within this whole conversation, it's crazy how we got in the conversation of the quarterbacks. I mean, it's not a problem. Like, I think it happened naturally. But like that defense, the way they performed in the second half was really good. Granted, like there was clearly some missed opportunities. We talked about it in the beginning of the show. Darius Slayton dropped a touchdown, or excuse me, not a touchdown, I'm sorry. But he dropped a 50-yard bomb that would have put Giants in position to win the game at the end. That was a blown coverage, wide open. Darius Slayton just dropped it. Obviously there was some huge gashes up front in the first half. But I think the way that they responded after going down 20-13, giving the offense 4 opportunities to put up points, and they only had points on one drive. I think that the defense I think the defense deserves a ton of credit for how they were able to keep Washington in the game. That is kind of the makings of a solid defensive unit and a defensive unit that you can really trust. And I even mentioned the fact that, Slayton gave up. Slayton had a 12-yard reception that put the Giants into scoring range. If it wasn't for that unsportsmanlike conduct by the center or whoever the offensive lineman was. But point is, like, mistakes happen, so that's on them. But I love the way that the defense is playing, and they're creating turnovers and giving that offense a chance to score points, to score points on extra possessions. And I like how Jack Del Rio adjusted at times and ultimately created some pressure points where Washington should have had some plays in terms of like interceptable balls. Like, I think, like, even at the end of the game on that 3-play sequence after the Slayton drop, I think it was Danny Johnson dropped the interception. It went right through his hands. Like, they're in position to make some plays. And I just think that giving your offense as many chances that they did is an impressive feat, especially in that second half. It would have been great if they were able to force a field goal after that turnover from Heineke, but at the end of the day, I can't get too mad at how they were able to respond and limit the Giants to just 20 points in a game. That's winning football these days. 20 points is winning football. Your offense has got to do more, man. Heineke trash. He missing wide open receivers, and Scott play calling is terrible. Look, I think Turner has his moments. But I like what he's doing in the run game. I like what he did in that first half too. But to your point, like when Heineke misses some open receivers, which ultimately results in first not being able to convert on third downs, and not being able to score in the red zone. That is clearly an issue. Where we at? Okay, I think we are good today. I think we're good. Let me see. I think I want to make sure I ain't missing no comments. Yep. Benjamin St. Jude's coming back is going to be major. I don't have an issue with Christian Holmes either. I think he had a bad game. Make no mistake. But I think that it took a Giants game. Like Ron Rivera said, he benched him because Christian Holmes wasn't playing aggressive enough. And that's okay for a rookie. Like, that's okay for a rookie, meaning you have some ability, you have some time to learn. You have some time to understand your mistakes, especially as a 7th rounder. Being put in that position to start is a blessing in itself. But at the end of the day, as a 7th round pick, you still got a lot to learn. So the Giants did a really good job isolating Christian Holmes on occasions in the red zone, downfield with Slayton. And Washington did the same thing with that one cornerback in the slot. I don't remember his name, but the one that Jahan Dotson scored on. Washington did the same thing. That cornerback came off a practice squad. I think that week, or maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know. But the Giants did a really good job of isolating Christian Holmes and putting the pressure on him. And I think bad games, bad moments happen. I don't think he's a bad cornerback yet. You know, you got to see a little bit more. I just think that was just a situation where, you know, he just wasn't able to rise to the occasion. Yeah, I think we are good. He said, "Do Remy for another stream, man." I'm back on that comment. We definitely gonna do it. I may pop out the Remy for the podcast on Tuesday night. I may pop out the Remy. He said, "Nah, I need Ron to keep that same energy when he blew up at the press conference and put Carson back in the game." All right. Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up for me today. So schedule wise, we're doing the film session Wednesday, and Trap or Die podcast is next tomorrow for Commanders, and then all 32 on Wednesday. There is no Thursday show. There is no Friday morning show. This is the bye week, man. Enjoy it. Debrief. And let's bounce back next week for the New York Giants. But yeah, we'll be back Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow as well. Y'all take it easy, man. Enjoy y'all day. Appreciate all the new subscribers, man. Appreciate the 1K. Appreciate the love, man. Y'all enjoy y'all day. Be safe. All that good stuff. Peace.